All right, back in the basement again today for hopefully a quick video talking about the new updated Rogue Ohio Power Bar, which you see before you. This is the stainless steel 20 kg version with chrome sleeves. I've owned a handful of Ohio Power Bars over the year, but I recently just purchased this one a couple of weeks ago because it has its new updated specs. Now, you might recall a couple of years ago, Rogue came out with the Ohio Bar S, and I'm assuming that S meant silent, because that's what it was marketed as, a quieter bar overall. And what that really boiled down to was tighter tolerances in the sleeves and less grooves on the sleeve. So when you're sliding plates on and off, you don't hear as much of a zip. And when you're using the bar, you don't hear as much clanging and banging, if you will. Now, they've started to take that technology, or I would say updating of their bar making process, because the technology isn't new. There's companies out there that already have really good tolerances in their bars. American Barbell comes to mind as being one of the top ones out there, but they're taking that and putting it across their lineup. So the next bar we saw was the Hybrid Power Bar, which seems like a logical update just because the Ohio Bar is 28.5 millimeters. The Hybrid Power Bar was also 28.5 millimeters, so pretty easy to do, a retrofit, if you will. However, we hadn't seen much done on the 29 millimeter bars, which is what I'm interested in because I like my power bars 29 millimeters. Earlier this year, they came out with an updated 45-pound version, which is great. Solid bar. I own several Agro 45-pound Ohio Power Bars, but I do a lot of my training these days with the thin competition IPF style collars, and I was waiting for them to update this bar, and obviously they've done so because I've brought it home with me. So just wanted to talk about it in brief. Now, one of the things that I've been doing on this channel with different barbells is what I call a drop test. And that's basically just taking an unloaded bar and dropping it and seeing what kind of sound it makes. This is a pretty stupid test, I agree, but it's the best way to kind of show you guys how a bar sounds and how it's built. You know, it's one thing for me to come over here and try to play with the sleeves some, but then you get the whole rack shaking, and it's hard to really kind of convey if there's movement at all other than just my word. So I'm showing you a drop test so you can hear these sounds, because I do think you can hear differences between bars with tighter tolerances and whatnot. So what I did is I took this bar, did a drop test with my 45-pound bar, which is a Rogue Ohio Power Bar, 45-pound version Agro 2. And I definitely think that you can hear a difference, but let me leave it up to you and your ears. So in addition to that, with the sleeves being tighter on this bar, you'll also note that the sleeves themselves are much more smooth. That's not to say that these are completely smooth and polished. There are still ribs on it, but they're much lesser. And upon a further away look, they might appear smooth, but when you get up in there, you can definitely see there are some ribbed, but much less ribbing for your pleasure in this case. It's always about her pleasure. In this case, it's his pleasure, because not a lot of guys like ribs on their sleeve. Personally, I don't really care, you know, in terms of functionality, except if I'm benching, because then I'll find I need to put collars on because they tend to slide more with the smooth sleeves. But visually, I do think smooth sleeves look a little bit better as opposed to some of the heavily ribbed sleeves we've seen in the past. Now, the good thing about this update, if you will, is that it's not an additional cost over what they were previously doing. So they've just kind of silently started to do this without doing a lot of marketing behind it. The bad news is for you is that if you have the older version, I don't think this is a worthy upgrade unless you really just want to. Yes, it's nicer to have tighter tolerance sleeves and smoother sleeves potentially, but it's not going to add any much to the functionality of your barbell. And in most cases, you'd probably have to sell your current bar at a loss just to rebuy a newer one. So it's more of a lateral upgrade, if you will. I don't think there's much improvement otherwise, but if you are looking at a Rogue bar, especially their power bars now, just note that you'll get these new updated ones, which I think is a nice add-on feature. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.